Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the fall campaign in B-17 Flying Fortress Leader by DVG. Morning, Philip. Not much new. What's going on with you today? So we're continuing the fall campaign of the Air War Begins. We've been doing this for most of the last 2 months now. So we do have the HO-229 special weapon that I kind of want to try to stop if I can. We've got Commander Ellers out. We've got 2 more weeks with him that we're dealing with. Good luck on the campaign. Thanks for the kind words. Looking at our targets, we've got this airfield right here that's related to that, along with the airfield over here in Berlin. Now, we can definitely get to the aircraft factory here in Bonn without getting ambushed by any Luftwaffe squadrons, as long as response stays at least average. As long as response is at most average, we can bypass the Luftwaffe to get here, whereas coming here, we're definitely going to be running the gauntlet trying to get to the airfield in Berlin for the HO-229. Although, we could potentially, coming down here, depending on Luftwaffe response, we could actually bypass them altogether. Well, we are going to have the 2 squadrons over here that we're going to have to deal with. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, and I actually need to remember to get my smaller dice tower out, because there's really no place else that I can put that. We can put that dice tower right there and shot. It'll be a little bit hard to see, but you guys will have to trust my dice rolling. And I think, well, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself there. So we've got our weekly SO points where we get 15. So that'll bring us up to 15. Where we have the option to buy new groups. But, as I've talked about before, I think we only have 2 groups left that we could buy at this point of the campaign. And honestly, oh no, I take that back. We've got 3 more bomber groups that we could pick up. But honestly, I think we're at a good place here where we've got both of our fighter groups that we can use, and we've got 3 bomber groups each. So it actually makes dividing the campaign, I'm going to make sure my camera doesn't freeze on me. It actually makes dividing the mission groups out nice and easy, because the reason it does that is I can send 1 fighter group with 3 bomber groups each, and I've got 2 configurations of that. So that actually makes dividing it easy, which means I'm going to sit on my new group and commanders. I'm going to sit on my SO points so I can load up on more specialized firepower. And then we've got our targets then we're selecting our targets, which I'm going to assign the groups at the same time. So I think we are going to run with that plan of going after the 2 targets related to the HO-229, unless I just want to drop ordnance on this airfield down here in Belgium, which actually wouldn't be a terrible plan either. Looking at that airfield in Belgium, that is target 2. That can take incendiary ammunition, which actually wouldn't be a terrible idea. Again, as long as the response stays at most average, we're not going to have problems with any of these Luftwaffe squadrons that are around. So, September, and we're on week 3 of September right now, and I see OBS just blipped on me. So we've still got time before the HO-229 becomes active. So I think that's what we're going to do, actually. We're going to go after the aircraft factory right here in Brussels. And in case you're wondering what the colored dice are, this week I went with green dice to represent the aircraft factories, and then pink dice for the airfields. So we are going to go after the aircraft factories. So we're going to go after this factory in Brussels, and then this one in Bonn. So we're going to get these 2. So we're going to get everything else as far as our dice go out of the way. And actually, I do want to leave some of my D10s close by, because I do use colored dice so I can roll through everything. For now, I'm going to put everything back away. Now I've got to decide who I'm sending where. Let's see. First, let me check on statuses. Hell's Angels are okay. Paradise Lost, they're shaken. Berlin Sleeper is just barely okay. Spitfire 4th, they're okay. Scarlet, they're okay, but just. Death Dealer, let's see, Death Dealer is also okay. Grim Reaper's shaken, and Spitfire 31st, they must have just come in, so they're actually perfectly fine. So now who do we want to send where? Actually, this configuration probably works. So now I'm going to grab some D10s. We'll use yellows. Is this what I want to go with? Yeah, I think this is what we'll go with for a group. I'm just going to do, for groups, I'm going to do a little bit of rearranging though. Mostly to set up the order I want everybody coming over the target. So we're going to go Spitfire. Spitfire is going to be flying escort. Let's see, then I want our shaken groups to come in last. Other than that, I don't think the order really matters. Hell's Angels are fine. Paradise Lost, they're shaken. Berlin Sleeper's also fine. So, I'm just going to rearrange these, which means I want Paradise Lost to come in last, since they're shaken. And they'll be Group 1. And I've got to decide which targets I'm going for first. As for the other group, which I grabbed another die for, let's see, we established Spitfire 31st was brand new, so they're coming in. They're going to be going into a baptism by fire on this one, as of course they'll be flying escort. Let's see, we established Scarlet was fine, Death Dealer's fine, and Grim Reaper's shaken. So actually that works for a configuration for them. They'll be coming in last. And I think I just had the 2 shaken, but I split them up. So yeah. Question is, who's got the stronger air-to-ground modifiers? It's going to be the first group, so I'm going to send them. I'm going to send them after the aircraft factory in Bonn, and then I'm going to send the other group after the aircraft factory over top of. Actually, I forgot. I should have left one green die there. I'm going to send the other group after the aircraft factory down here in Brussels. So now we want to work on. So now we're into pre-flight, which means now we're arming our bombers. Let's see. So we're going to deal with the group going after. We're going to deal with the group going after the aircraft going over to Bonn first. So let me actually remember to note these. So they are going. So Spitfire 4th is going after. What is that? SW02. Hell's Angels are on that as well. Berlin Sleeper. And Death Dealer's going. Death Dealer's going on the second mission. That is Aircraft Factory 09. Grim Reaper is also going on 09. Paradise Lost is 02. Actually, that's the target that's got 1 damage on it. Not the airfield in Leipzig. Scarlet is going on Aircraft Factory 09, and Spitfire 31st also on Aircraft 09. As Magnus now stops by, You're just in time, Magnus. We're getting things set up for our first mission of the day. So I've got Spitfire, Hell's Angels, Berlin Sleeper, and Paradise Lost coming into Bonn. There's no dispersed here, so no worries there. Let's see. What do we want to do here? We've got... Everybody can take 6 tons of bombs. Do I want to try to load up on... Do I want to try to load up on firepower to try to do some damage? And I think the answer here is going to be... they're going to be taking... This group, the other group that's going after the aircraft factory over Brussels, they're going to be taking mostly incendiary ammunition. Or mostly incendiary bombs. So, and incendiaries, I believe, cost 0. Yep. And given that there's no that these targets are not dispersed, yeah, neither target's dispersed, so I definitely don't want the. So I'm not going to need the +2 bonus from the M30s. So I think I am going to load up on some extra firepower here. And the question is, how much do I want to go with? Let's see. 6 tons each they can take. The next question is how many SO points do I want to spend on this? Let's see. I'm up to 15 because that's what I got for the week. I don't want to burn them all here is the problem. Let's give everybody at least 1 M43 bomb. They'll hit on a 5 or a 7. Which that's going to cost me 6 SO points right off the bat. And... do I just... Okay, I'm going to do one more mark here. So I'm going to put chits out on the targets. You guys can't see all of this. You guys can't see all of the chit marking I'm doing off camera, but just trust that I know what I'm doing here. Just keeping everything straight for me. Let's see, that's going to cost me 6 SO points. Do I want to just load up on... Yeah, I think they're going to be I think the other group is going to be taking pretty much all incendiary. So yeah, I might as well just load everybody up on M43 since I'm going to try to do some damage. So that's going to cost me 9 SO points to load them up. So everybody's taking on... So everybody's going to be taking 3 M43s. They cost 1 SO point each, 2 tons, and hit on a 5 to do on a 5 or 6 to do 1 damage, 7 plus to do 2 damage. And that's what I'm giving everybody here. That also will hopefully help mitigate the horrible luck I've been having with keeping everybody in formation, although we've actually got a decent group here that might be able to stay in formation reasonably well. So let's see what we can do about that. Let's see, purchase equipment, tactics counters, display mission setup. So I'm going to move to that next. And given the order, we've got the Spitfire flying low escort. They've got a +1 on bandit interception. Then the 303rd is going to come in first and lead. Then Berlin Sleeper. And finally... the 97, and finally, Paradise Lost. Now we'll roll for Luftwaffe response. And as you might recall from the campaign, they get a -2. They get a -2 roll. Actually, before we do that, target is going to be here. We'll go 1, 2. Excuse me. 3. And 4 to be back to base. So probably going to be a pair of short missions today, but let's see. Okay. Just keeping an eye on something else going on my phone. So bear with me if I suddenly go silent on that. Anywho, let's go ahead and roll for our Luftwaffe response. We're on a -2 for the campaign. That's a 6, -2 is a 4, so that'll be poor response, which means we've got a whole mess of Luftwaffe squadrons around here. Not one of them is going to touch us, thankfully. So we've got poor response there. We'll bring that shit up there. And now we are all set to start into this mission. So I'll give the event cards, I'll give my event cards a quick shuffle. As Christoph now stops by as we're getting set to start the first mission on the day. We will be flying 2 here in this one. And a cut, and we'll get our first event card out momentarily. So we've got our first target-bound event. Occupation resistance. Change any desired non-German target intelligence level to high. So that's basically a do-nothing event. Which means... Wait a second. Okay, let's grab the mission counter here. So now we'll move into the hex. Formation check, and this is where I need the different colored dice. So, whoop. As one of the dice goes flying on me, but thankfully not hard to track it down. I'm rolling red for Hell's Angels, orange for Berlin Sleeper, purple for Paradise Lost. Hell's Angels need a 6+, Berlin Sleeper needs a 5+, Paradise Lost needs a 7+ to stay in formation. And Berlin Sleeper comes out of formation, but everybody else is fine. Okay, Luftwaffe squadrons don't intercept. Fighter groups are still in range. Luftwaffe squadrons rearm, and we loop back up. So now we get our next event card, next target-bound event. The Germans are adapting. Remove any tactics counters from 2 random groups. Well, the only tactics that we've got are Out of the Sun and YB-40, so those need to be removed, which is unfortunate. Mission group will move in. Well, actually, it's not too bad because we're not going to have any Luftwaffe response to speak of. So let's see if we have any mission problems, as we are going to be over the target, so we're checking formation. Hopefully the Berlin Sleeper can get back in formation. Which they can, and everybody stays in formation, so nobody's going to be penalized by a -2 on the formation roll. But now that we're over the target, we see that they actually have that the target actually has 1 damage on it. So we have to take a flak attack first. This one is 1 to 5, no damage. 6 is 2. 6 is 2. 6 is up to 6. So 1 to 5 is no damage. 6 is 1. 7 is 2. 7 and 8 is 2. 9+ is 3. So we've got 2 flak attacks. Same color. I'm going to use the same colors as the formation checks. So hopefully... Hold up. Okay. Never mind. Alright, so now we're rolling for formation, and everybody's got 1 durability, so any rolls will get subtracted. We'll get 1 subtracted from them. Yikes. Okay, so yeah, we're about to take a few hits here. So Hell's Angels, 3 modifies down to a 2, 8 modifies down to a 7. So Hell's Angels are taking 2 hits. They're still going to be okay, thankfully. And they're the first ones coming over the target anyway. Berlin Sleeper, 8 modifies to a 7, 9 modifies to an 8. So they're taking another Yikes, are they taking another 4 hits? Yeah, the Berlin Sleeper is taking another 4 hits. So they're very much shaken. Let's see, Paradise Lost, 6 modifies down to a 5, 9 modifies down to an 8. So they're taking 2 hits as well. Paradise Lost, I think, is going to end up shaken. They are going to end up shaken. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Alright, well, we're going to start bombing here. Hell's Angels are coming over the target first. So we'll grab one more red die. And everybody is in formation, so no -2 penalty. Hell's Angels have a +1 on air to ground. Oop. Come here. Die went falling on me again. Seems usual on these streams, admittedly. Let's see how Hell's Angels get on. Okay, 1 modifies to a 2, so that one will do nothing. 4 will modify to a 5, that'll do 1. 6 will modify to a 7, that'll do 2, so a total of 3 hits. Which brings that up to light damage. Then the Berlin Sleeper, who just ended up shaken. Wait a second. Oh yeah, okay. So I'll move these bombs out just so I know that they're done and I don't have to worry about rolling them again. The Berlin Sleeper thankfully came back in formation. They're very shaken though. So they're going to have straight rolls on this. Which 6, 7, 4. So that'll be another 3 hits actually. Bringing the airfield up to 7 damage. Then perhaps we'll move those out as well. And then last we've got Paradise Lost, who also ended up shaken. And unfortunately, their rolls are -1 because they're shaken. So I'd like to see very high rolls here. Okay, that we can probably work with. Alright, 10 modifies down to a 9, 3 modifies down to a 2, 8 modifies down to a 7, so that's actually 4 hits, which will bring them up, which will bring that target up to 11 damage. Sadly, 13 is what we needed to destroy it, but still. Putting some heavy hits on that, very much welcome. Alright, and now we're going to turn around and head for home. So now we're drawing a homebound event. So here we draw. German radar system down. If desired, reroll Luftwaffe response. Subtract 2 from the Luftwaffe response roll. I'm not going to bother with that because Luftwaffe response is already poor. And I'd rather not take a risk that we turn that suddenly into... Well, we're not in danger of turning that into a high response, but still. I'd rather not, I'm not going to bother with that, so we'll move the mission counter. Then we'll perform formation checks again. Which this time Hell's Angels and Paradise Lost will come out of formation, but that's not too likely to matter in this stage of things. Okay, no squadron interception, and then we loop that back, so we'll draw another target-bound event, or another homebound event, I should say. Once this decides, there we go. Smooth weather. All bomber groups automatically pass all formation checks. Not that that's going to matter, because we've moved over the target, and the mission is over. So we moved back over base, mission is over. So now they're up to... So now that is up to 11 damage. And we do mission debriefing, final damage target status, which we did that. These groups get 1 experience each for participating in the mission, so that's Spitfire 4th, which will be enough to promote Spitfire 4th. Hell's Angels go up to 4 experience. Berlin Sleepers also 4. Paradise Lost is 5 experience, which is not enough to promote them, but the experience is enough to promote Spitfire 4th. That'll bring them up. Not average. Veteran is actually what they are. And Spitfire 4th with 4 hits is still very much okay. So now they attack fast, +4 air-to-air. So that's definitely a group we're going to want to protect as hard as we can. Okay, so they're done. Which brings us back to record group status, airfield, aircraft factory, airfield. So we're back to pre-flight for group 2. So now we're going to arm them up, and I think we're probably going to just arm them all. Question here is, do we go full incendiary? I think all the bomber groups here are pretty much shaken. Let's see, Death Dealer, nope, they're okay. Scarlet is also okay. The Grim Reaper is the one that is shaken. So I think to account for air-to-air modifiers, I'm going to switch Death Dealer and Scarlet for the order, which means I'll get them off the target. Or them off the mission display. And I think we are going to load up on full incendiary. Let's see, we've got 8, 6, and... Actually, we've got... Yeah, 8, 6, and 6 for tonnage. So I think we're going to load up... Are we going to load up full incendiary? They're not... This target isn't dispersed, so... No problem, so no consideration there. I could clean out on SO points if I want to load up on extra firepower. Well, let's start by giving everybody at least 1 incendiary bomb. What else do I want to do here? Do I want to try to do some damage to this? I'm not as urgent in wanting to do damage to this target as I was to the HO-229 target. Let's see, because Grim Reaper's shaken, they're facing a -1 air to ground. So I think them I am going to load up a little bit more. I'll give them another incendiary round, but I'll also spend 2 SO points to give them an M44, so that it hits a little bit. Where I'm going with this is they'll have an easier time hitting the target in theory. Actually, no, they can't take that. I will give that to... Actually, I'm going to go full incendiary with them, but somebody is going to take an M44. I think it'll be... I think it's going to be Scarlet with a -1 air to ground modifier. Or do I want to... Well, do I want to give Death Dealer one of the bigger bombs, a GB4 B-17? They might actually not be able to take that one, potentially. Let me check here. That actually might be a weapon that's not even available to us yet. Can only be used by a B-17, so M44s. There's something special about the... Is there something where I can... I was hoping there'd be like a section to explain every weapon. So, actually, I'm going to give the Death Dealer the M44, so Scarlet can take a GB4. That will clean me out of SO points, though, which I'm probably fine. Which I think I'm fine with, since I'm not really since I'm not really at a point in the campaign where I'm buying more groups, and then I'll just give Death Dealer another incendiary round, and I think it only cares if it got hit with at least one incendiary round. Not necessarily. I'm pretty sure we only care that it got hit with one incendiary round, or that a target got hit with at least one incendiary, but yeah. It only cares that it was hit by an incendiary. Okay, so it does specifically specify that, which means I want to find my other damage markers in here. Where the hell did you end up? Not there. Ah, here we are. So I'm just going to grab out one incendiary mark, so I can mark that just in case I need it. Okay, after all of that, now we're set. Okay, so we armed display mission setup. So we're going to go Spitfire flying low escort, then Death Dealer, Scarlet, and finally Grim Reaper. And now we're going to roll for Luftwaffe response. I'd love for this to be another poor response. Ask and ye shall receive. That is another poor response. This time the only difference is that our target is going to be basically it's only going to be one hex away, is where I'm going with that. So, with all that being said, let's draw another target-bound event. So our first target-bound event, Luftwaffe unprepared. Reduce Luftwaffe response by 1 to a minimum poor. Except they're already poor, so joke's on them. Let's grab the chit for the mission. Then we'll find ourselves over the target. Here could be a roll that could cause problems. Hopefully not, though. The formation check. Red is for Death Dealer, orange is for Scarlet, purple is for Grim Reaper. Death Dealer needs a 5+ to stay in formation, Grim Reaper needs a 6+, Scarlet needs an 8+. Which Death Dealer and Grim Reaper come out of formation. Scarlet, thankfully, stays in formation. Okay. No Luftwaffe squadron interception that we need to worry about. And we're over the target, so everybody's going to take flak from the... We'll roll the same colors the same way. Okay, everybody except for Death Dealer's got durability. Target, the numbers here on flak are 6, 7, and 10. So up to 5, no damage. 6, 1, 7, 8, and 9... 7... So, yeah, 7, 8, and 9, 1 damage, 10 is 2. And there's no modifier on that. Yowza. Well, actually, Death Dealer is completely fine. Scarlet is going to be 9 modified to an 8. That will be a total of 4 hits on Scarlet. I think Scarlet's going to end up... Yeah, Scarlet's going to end up shaken by that. That's rather unfortunate. And Grim Reaper, 8 modifies down to a 7, 9 modifies down to an 8, so that's another 4 hits on Grim Reaper. Grim Reaper is getting near the end of his rope. Okay, so... With that all being said, Death Dealer does have a -2 plus a -1 for ending up shaken. No, Death Dealer actually is fine, so it's going to be just a -2 roll. Just -2 to the roll. So we'll roll We'll roll red for the incendiary ammunition and orange for the M44. So all -2s. Which, okay, 9 minus 2 is 7, so that will be one incendiary hit on the... That will be one incendiary hit on the aircraft factory, and I was going to say, I just grabbed my incendiary chit for that. Nothing else will hit, though. Scarlet will get the same roll, minus one of these dice. So we're just going to use red for the... And unfortunately, Scarlet is a -3 because of being shaken. So we'll use red for the... Actually, there's a +1 air to ground, which I didn't account for in the last roll. So this is going to net out to a -2. Red for the incendiary, orange for the special bomb. So that'll net out to a -2 for Scarlet. Alright, 9 modifies down, what did we say, -2 I think is what we netted down to, yes. 9 modifies down to a 7, 4 modifies down to, actually there's a +2 on that bomb, 6 from that, and then -2 modifies back to a 4, so it ultimately cancels each other out. But that is enough to put another 2 hits on the target. So that'll bring that up to 3 damage. And then Grim Reaper is all incendiary and a -3 on its roll. Excuse me. So we'll just grab 3 red dice for that. So yeah, net -3 on these rolls. Oop. Get in the tower. Which net -3 is going to mean none of them hit. So that's unfortunate. And then I believe we roll when we do final target status. Yeah, that'll be during mission debrief. That will roll, I believe, for incendiary. Oh no, we actually roll for that now. So now we're going to check for the incendiary. Right now it's taken light damage. So on the incendiary roll, up to 5, up to 5, it goes up 1 level. 5 to 7 goes up up to 5 does nothing. 5 to 7 will go up 1 level. 7 or 8 plus will go up 2 levels. So we want to see a high roll here. That's a 10, so it's going to go up to heavy damage, which means that'll take another... So going up to heavy damage will bring it up to 11 damage. Wow, that incendiary ammunition really worked wonders. Okay, well, we'll draw a homebound event as we're getting ready to turn around and head for home. More damage than expected. Increase the target's final damage level by 2. So, I stand corrected. That aircraft factory just went toodaloo. So a lucky draw actually takes that aircraft factory completely out. So, very nicely done. We must have touched off, well, this is an aircraft factory, so we might have touched off a generator. We might have touched off some ammunition or something. I don't know why the Germans would be keeping ammunition at an air... Well, actually, I do know why they'd be keeping... I do know why they'd be keeping ammunition at an aircraft factory. Because they're trying to get their planes armed. But we have taken out the aircraft factory, which will give us 2 victory points. But it also means we'll have to draw a new aircraft factory target. When we get to November, or when we get to October, I should say. I'm just making a note, and our group managed to get home. So since we took that out, we get another 2 victory points. So that brings us up to 12 victory points. And because we destroyed the target, everybody on the mission gets 2 victory points, or 2 experience. So the 31st gets 2 victory points, which isn't enough to promote them. Death Dealer gets 2, not enough to promote them. Scarlet gets 2, that is enough to promote Scarlet. We'll look at that in a second. Grim Reaper gets 2. So Scarlet goes from Recruit. Where's their average card? Because average is what they should be. Here we go. So now 0 to 7, they're okay, but they're still shaken. 8 to 10 is still shaken. And they've got target, transportation, air to ground, +1. So now it gets a lot easier for them. Actually, Scarlet was Recruit, so actually they're green now. Right? Yeah, they're actually green, so I skipped a promotion level. So actually, since they're still shaken, +3 air to air, -2 air to ground. So since they promoted, they lose all of their experience, and one of these, Spitfire 4th, is actually the one who promoted to veteran. Okay, so now that we're done with that, now we're in mission debriefing. I already blew through victory and experience, so we've got all of that, and we've got target repair that we're looking at. So we're looking at the aircraft factory in Bonn. So they repair on a 9+. Which that's a 9, so they're actually going to go down 1 level. They'll go back down to 9 damage, so medium damage. I definitely want to try to take that out. Next week if I can. But that'll do it for this week in the fall campaign in B-17 Flying Fortress Leader. I've really been enjoying this game, and I talked about it before, how when I went nuclear on my DVG collection last year and moving things out of my collection, I'm starting to realize that I actually made a mistake when I went nuclear on getting rid of my DVG collection last year. Because I really like these games and how they tell a big story related to whatever squadron and whatever campaign you're going through. I've made no bones about the fact that I like narrative in a lot of my games, and I'm actually going through that as I'm also starting to stress test some of my sports games during the off season, as I'm figuring out what systems I can reasonably use for replays. So definitely liking the storytelling aspect that I'm getting out of the Leader series, at least what I'm going through with this campaign. So we're definitely going to see more of these campaigns on the channel. I'm just figuring out how I want to work the scheduling out with all of that. But I'm rambling at this point, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. Later this afternoon, I do have another game planned later this afternoon, but I'm going to hold close to the vest what that game is. As for what's scheduled, Wednesday we're actually going to remember that it's October and it's Halloween month, as we're going to play Final Girl by Van Ryder Games. Saturday, Mystical Munchies will conclude with Redo Month, as we go back to the Dungeons & Dragons Flavors of the Multiverse cookbook to make the drink, Erlenmeyer's Dragonfire Punch. As for next week, we'll have the last mission for September 1942 here in the fall campaign of B-17 Flying Fortress Leader. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care.